The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WBBZ TV. It's time for Political Buzz, the television forum to discuss politics and issues of interest for all of Western New York. Now, from the WBBZ television studio at the Eastern Hills Mall, this is Political Buzz.
Hello, everyone. John DeShula with you with my new special friend. Welcome to Political Buzz here on WBBZ TV. Well, to say that things have been unbearable at the Buffalo Zoo is an understatement. It's unbearably cute, that is. It is the summer of Cully and Luna, and they are the hottest duo in town. Luna, born at the Buffalo Zoo this past December, and Cully was welcomed to Western New York in May after arriving from Alaska, a journey of tragedy that has turned to triumph, all at a time when millions of dollars are needed to complete the Arctic Edge polar bear exhibit. Now, here to update us on Luna and Cully is the president and CEO of the Buffalo Zoo, Donna Fernandez. Came to our area in 2000 after an amazing career in Boston, the Bronx, Brooklyn, getting her master's and doctorate at Princeton. Donna has been the driving force behind the amazing growth of the Buffalo Zoo with exhibits like the Rainforest and many, many others. And so we welcome you, and we welcome Matthew Johnson, who is a representative of the Buffalo Zoo, been there about 3 years, with a very special friend who we will meet in just a little bit. But Donna, we'll start with you because we're talking about bears. That's why we have this friend from Raff and Company here at the Eastern Hills Mall. And you said it's pretty lifelike, actually.
Yes, very good.
But it's Cully.
Right.
And Luna. And let's start with Luna. Luna was born at the Buffalo Zoo just within the last year.
Yes, we have a breeding program for polar bears, and her mother, Anana, had been with us for many years, and we had brought in a new male, Nanook, who was her dad, and she was born end of November, but we didn't go public with her until March 1st.
And then Cully, although it's written Cali, K-A-L-I, I think people would want to say it that way. It's Cully. Came to Alaska, but that briefly explain that story, because it is sort of sad, actually, how that all came to be.
Right. The native Alaskans, the Inupiat tribe, do have the right to shoot so many polar bears per year, though only adult males. And this individual accidentally shot an adult female, Cully's mother, because he thought it was a male. But when he got to the body and discovered that it was lactating, he knew he had shot a female with a cub. So he followed her tracks all the way back to her den and found a lone cub, which he then packed in his jacket and drove a number of miles in his snowmobile to surrender the cub to Fish and Wildlife Service. And they basically brought it to the Alaska Zoo, who eventually decided to bring it to Buffalo because we had just a lone cub, Luna, and so it was good for the two of them to be able to socialize by growing up together.
And it took a little bit that you didn't just put them right in the same area at one time. They had to acclimate toward each other.
Right. Generally, they can at least hear each other and smell each other as soon as they arrive in the adjacent stall, but they couldn't see each other. But when we put a mesh barrier up, and he was a little tentative when he first saw her. She was all excited. She ran right to the barrier. He backed away and was sort of shy. But we have cameras on them at night, so the curator could see that while she was sleeping, he was watching her. So he's very interested in her, but just a little shy when she would be right up against the screen with him. But over time, he got more and more brave to be with her. So eventually, after about 10 days, we lifted up the mesh barrier, let them together, and they've been best friends ever since.
And they're a big hit at the Buffalo Zoo. We were there the other day shooting video, and we'll be running that throughout the show. And it's just amazing, the people that have come out. But it's only for this summer.
Right. Right now, we've been told that we're guaranteed to keep Cully through the summer, and then he could potentially be placed at another zoo with a brand new exhibit. But we're waiting to see what Fish and Wildlife's decision will be. But he is guaranteed here through the summer.
And why Buffalo from Anchorage, Alaska?
Well, just because we did have the other cub, that it was of similar age, not because of the quality of our exhibit. Our current exhibit, or the bear exhibit, which is actually empty right now, is very old. It dates from the 1890s. So other zoos around the country who'd built brand new multi-million-dollar exhibits wanted him. The only reason Buffalo got it was because of the similar aged animal that we had at the zoo.
Well, it does all coincide. It's all rather interesting because this piece that we have next to us is what you want to build for a bear exhibit.
Right. We are designing a $14 million state-of-the-art facility for polar bears. So there'll be 2 habitats that will house polar bears, a huge holding building, a life support system to clean and sanitize the water. Both of the habitats have saltwater pools with underwater viewing. In addition to polar bears, we're going to have a bald eagle habitat, Arctic wolf, Canadian lynx, Arctic ground birds, and then the exhibit ends in this Arctic Conservation Center, which contains all of these exhibits about what's happening in the wild in Arctic habitats and how you at home can help to save them.
And we're going to have more information on where you can help the Buffalo Zoo, and we're going to find out in our next segment about why it's so important. But Matthew, you've been watching, Matthew Johnson from the Buffalo Zoo, and who is your friend that you brought with you?
This is Miss Vicky, and Miss Vicky is a great horned owl. And I figure since we're talking about Arctic edge, that we brought an animal that might be found up there near the edge of the Arctic.
Talk to us about Miss Vicky. She's looking at us.
Yeah, she's actually probably listening to you. Owls have really good hearing,
Okay.
more than their eyesight actually, so they like to focus in on sound. So the fact that you're talking means that she's probably going to listen to you.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody does, Matthew, because God knows it's not happening with the crew around here, but that's okay. And how old is Miss Vicky?
Miss Vicky is 19 years old, actually. She was born in '94.
Really? And what are the habits of an owl like that? And explain the species a little bit.
Well, great horned owls, for one thing, are a native species to this area. They have a really, really large range all throughout South America, Central America, and then up into all of North America, pretty much up into northern Canada also. A very large range. They're very common.
And those claws look like they would do some damage. And
Yep, her
obviously
talons
that's how they
are
get their prey.
really, really strong.
Yeah.
They have a force 5 times greater than an adult human.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That explains that severe piece of leather you've got there to keep yourself safe. What is the diet of Miss Vicky?
Well, in the zoo, she eats small rodents and small chicks and quail, small things like that. But in the wild, they can eat things up to as large as a skunk.
And when you come to the zoo and a family wants to bring a child to, will you explain? Is there somebody there to talk about the owls and of course all the other animals too?
Yep. Actually, our birds of prey are currently not on exhibit for the public. We use them pretty much exclusively for shows, programming, outreach, lots of different educational outlets.
And the owl is awake it's a nocturnal creature, awake in the
Yeah.
evening and sleeping during the day.
Normally, she's a lot more active during the night. I come in the morning and find things have been completely trashed overnight. She's very active. She's very healthy. She is very used to being used during the day, though, because she's acclimated a little bit to our schedules also, and she is really, really good in that sense.
Good. Well, we
Want to talk
Don.
about one of the shows that we're doing?
Oh,
this year?
yeah. We're doing 2 different summer shows this year, and one of them is called the ZAM Show, and ZAM stands for Zoo Animal Misconception. And so we talk about different zoo misconceptions and the animals that live there. Like, one of them is wise as an owl, so we talk about the intelligence level of owls, and that's going to be at a stage that we're reopening this year that's going to be next to our new front entrance. It's
Great.
going to be a great new little show that we're going to be having.
And that's something people can enjoy all summer long.
Right. All of our shows are free with zoo admission. And so there's a Wild Play show that Matt will be doing with the owl, as well as the ZAM show that he'll be doing at the Wild Place, which is at our new front entrance. And then Matt will also be just doing a general keeper talk with Miss Vicky, also in the stage by the new entrance.
Where did the name Miss Vicky come from? Was that your idea?
No, she was named that when she was a baby 19 years ago, and I don't know where it came from.
There you go. And just before we wrap this segment, the movement of the owl's head. We were just talking with our next guest, Joel Jomber, about watching how they move. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. They can turn their head about 270 to 280 degrees. It's not a full circle, but it's pretty impressive.
Interesting. Well, Matthew, thank you for bringing Miss Vicky to us. Donna, you're going to stick around, and we're going to continue with Political Buzz and talk about everything that's happening at the Buffalo Zoo, because as we said, it is unbearably cute there. More about that when Political Buzz on WBBZ continues. The Buffalo Zoo campaign, 300 Parkside Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14214. The website is buffalozoo.org, or it's another interesting way you can make a donation. You can text Zoo Bear to 56512. You just get out your cell phone and text Zoo Bear to 56512, and a donation will be made to the Buffalo Zoo. Now, funding for the exhibits at the zoo is critical. And one of the forces behind the funds early on, when the rainforest was developed, was former Erie County executive, now consultant for park strategies, Joel Giambra, a friend of this station and a friend of ours. And Joel, it's good to see you again.
And a friend of the zoo.
And a friend of the zoo, that's right. Explain maybe that rainforest connection when you first made the connection with New York County executive.
Well, we lived very in close proximity to the zoo, so the zoo was very much a part of my family's growing up in the North Buffalo area. And the biggest lobbyists, besides Bob Wilmers, for my contribution, the county's contribution, were my 3 kids at the time. We had a family membership, and the zoo was a very, very important part of our family's entertainment, and a very big part of entertainment in the Buffalo region, obviously.
Well, and I remember visiting your home at one point. You can hear the animals. It's very interesting to live near the zoo.
Yeah, it was kind of cool at night. You would hear when it was very quiet. You'd sometimes hear the lions and some of the other animals there, but it gave it a nice flavor in North Buffalo and sometimes a nice aroma.
So let's talk about the rainforest before we get into this, because I know my daughter's been to the rainforest and love it, and their friends have gone to see it, and it's such an interesting concept. Where did that all come from?
Well, it was a real game changer. When we received the county's support, which was $8 million for our new master plan, as well as $8 million from the state at the time, and then we had to raise a significant private amount. We wanted to do a bunch of different exhibits around the story of water and how water defines habitats. So when we wanted to do a rainforest, we did pick one that had a dominant waterfall as the major feature in Rainforest Falls. But we wanted something to convince you to come to the zoo in the middle of the winter. And what's fabulous about the rainforest is it's always 78 degrees, 80% humidity. Even in the middle of the winter, it's a fabulous place. There's about 35 different species of animals, over 100 specimens, and it's just a delight both in the summer and the winter. And it's made a huge impact on our attendance.
Now, and Joel, as former county executive and a long time, lifelong resident of Western New York, it is critical to support the arts and support cultural institutions because they are such a magnet. It makes the quality of life here much better, but yet I'm sure there were struggles along the way when people said, maybe we shouldn't give you this money.
Well, obviously the county's discretionary dollars are very limited. So when I was asked to make this investment by Bob Wilmers, who was very generous with his own contribution personally and the banks, it was very easy to do because understanding the economics, the zoo is obviously a very integral part of the social fabric of this community, but it's also a very strong piece of the economic tourism, cultural tourism activities here. So when I was asked to make this investment, it was easy because I knew that return on investment would be significant for the zoo and for all the other cultural attractions. What we tried to do in Erie County was to make the cultural attractions the centerpiece, if you will, of the tourism packages that are being promoted here in this region. And with Donna's help, the zoo has become a major attraction in bringing new people to this area.
Big. And M&T is the bank that we're talking about with Bob Wilmers, who's been just a great supporter and a supporter of this project, I'm sure.
Right. He's the bank has made a commitment to the new Arctic exhibit, as well as they hosted a party for some of their high-end clients to support the campaign. And as Joel said, we are now the #1 cultural attraction in Erie County with over 450,000 visitors annually. And what's great about the zoo is it attracts people of every demographic, people of all ages, every ethnic background, educational level, income level. Everybody loves the zoo. And so it's great to see the diversity of people that come to the zoo on a daily basis.
And we talk about the bank and we talked about the county and government, but it's really important for the general public to participate too with memberships and making those donations. It's, you shouldn't just look and say, well, there's millions coming in from these other entities. Every dollar really
Right.
counts.
This campaign's been a lot more difficult. As Joel said, last time we sort of had an $8 million county commitment as well as an $8 million state commitment very early on, and so we had to raise the rest privately, though Mr. Wilmers gave $4 million personally, so that helped a lot. This time, we're at $15 million of the $18 million that we need. $10 million of that has been from the private sector. So far, the county's in for $3 million, and the city's in for $1 million, and we are hoping to get some support from New York State, which was so generous in our last campaign, but really hasn't been present in this campaign, which we'd like to see New York part of the commitment.
So when people go to see the Kali and Luna, they can make a contribution. And
Absolutely. We have docents there with little boxes that you can give right there at the exhibit, or as you mentioned, go online, www.buffalozoo.org, and make a commitment, or you can text the Zoo Bear to that phone number you indicated, which will then give you an option. It will come up, how much do you want to give, when you go onto that text option.
Joel, you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say thank you to Donna on behalf of this community for what she's done to transform this institution into the magnificent cultural attraction it is. This is not your grandfather's Buffalo Zoo, so if you haven't been there in the last 15 years, check it out. It's cool.
I think that's important to note. And we were talking about the late Minot Ortolani, who first showed me the zoo when I came to town in 1983. And you're right, it's changed completely. And if you haven't been in a long time. And how long will this process take to build?
We hope to begin, if we can complete the campaign by the middle of July, we'd like to begin right after Labor Day. And hopefully open June 2015. It's going to take quite a while. I have another rendering that's more of a...
show us, because I find it fascinating. First of all, you're dealing with local architects.
Yeah, I'll take this one down. This is a 3D rendering that gives you an idea of the massing of it. This is a huge indoor holding building, which is a requirement of the new polar bear standards, the life support, which will clean and sanitize the water's big pumps and filters. But you'll enter the exhibit under 2 giant whale bones, and then the inner pathway will take you past bald eagle, which will be in a mesh, though not covered because we have some rehab animals that can't fly. And then you'll see some Arctic ground birds like ptarmigan and ducks and geese and swans from the Arctic. Then you'll have underwater viewing of the pools. Then you go into a cave where the animals might be resting to get out of the sun. You'll be able to be really up close to the bears in the cave. Then there's some wolves on the other side of this. Then you see another, the second polar bear habitat with a second pool with underwater viewing. You round the corner and there's Canadian lynx. And then this Arctic Conservation Center has all sorts of great interactives for kids to learn about what's happening in the Arctic. And then there'll be little plush polar bear stores so you can buy your little stuffed animals like the one you brought on.
It's all about the plush
And this
polar
is just
bear.
a rendering to show you the underwater viewing.
I find this to be the most fascinating.
One of the pools has the shallow up front and the deep in the back, which is the rendering here. The other has the deep pool up front and the shallow in the back. But we've designed it so that hopefully one pool will be, the polar bears will be eye level with children. The other, the polar bears will be eye level with adults. So both can get to enjoy that.
And we've all seen other exhibits where you can go right up to that glass, and it is fascinating. Joel, I'm sure that you have something to weigh in on this. I mean,
It's awesome.
Even though your children are older, I would think they would still be fascinated to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the transformation that's taken place there is incredible. This is not the old, tired zoo that it was. And the previous administration did great work, but I think Donna and her team have taken this to a whole nother level.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue this discussion about the Buffalo Zoo and some other important events in Western New York as we continue our special presentation here on WBBZ TV. We'll be right back. The Buffalo Zoo, the topic here on Political Buzz today, right near Delaware Park and another great park in Western New York, MLK Park, right off Best Street in the city, where the Juneteenth Festival was recently held. I was there with a WBBZ camera to take part in the celebration. The weather was picture perfect when thousands lined Genesee Street to MLK Park for the 18th annual Juneteenth Festival and Parade in Buffalo, a celebration to recognize when the United States ended slavery and also African American heritage. WBBZ TV was there, hanging our banners on Frank's flatbed truck and riding with the Unity Band, proudly joining Rick Matthews in the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame float.
Buffalo Music Hall of Fame is a 501c3 organization, not-for-profit, and everybody in it's a volunteer. If you want to find out more about anything about the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame, including our annual gala that comes up in October, go on www.buffalomusic.org. And you can find us there, and go to our Facebook page too, and you can like us there, and join the rest of the people in Buffalo who are enjoying the page that we have. Salute!
In addition to supporting Rick and the team, WBBZ is also supporting the efforts of the Buffalo Common Council with member Damone Smith and Scout leader Leona Harper to expand the mission of the Boy Scouts in the city of Buffalo.
Part of this is giving back to the community. It's their community service. The community always supports us, so we have to support them. Besides that, it's very important for people in Buffalo to know that we have young men that are trying to do something good in life, and everything isn't bad with our children. They want to do something and be something.
And in addition to community organizations, entertainers, and neighbors coming together, Juneteenth also brought out politicians and leaders to meet and greet their constituents, including all the men running for the office of mayor of the city of Buffalo and the current office holder, Mayor Byron Brown.
Great day, another Juneteenth festival, the 38th Juneteenth. Tremendous turnout. People are having a great time, and the weather is beautiful. What more could you ask for?
former crime fighter turned candidate Bernie Tolbert marched.
I think that our neighbors on the east side have not gotten the attention that they deserve. We've got to do more development, more jobs. We've got to have a strategic plan for buildings that are no longer habitable, that if we're going to tear them down, we have to figure out what we're going to do with them.
And Republican Sergio Rodriguez.
The East Side needs the most is help with education, crime, poverty, and unemployment. I'm seeking mayoral control over the education system. Crime, homicides went up 40%, shootings went up 70% last year. Things need to change. We have to be more aggressive. We have to have preventive measures to prevent the violence that's happening here.
It's the great diversity of our community that makes it great. The team at WBBZ wishes everyone a safe and happy summer. And it was a great time to see everybody in the city. And, we talked a little bit about the African-American heritage, and there's a connection to the Buffalo Zoo, too.
Yes, we're very excited. We just got word that 2 of our gates 3 and 4, which are near our rhino and giraffe exhibits, were designed by an African-American architect in the late 1930s. And he was the first African-American architect to work for the city of Buffalo, and one of the first African-American architects in the country at that time. So it was listed on the National and State Register of Historic Places, and we've got a big event coming up to celebrate that.
And Joel, we talked about the parks. I mean, you have MLK Park there in the city, and Delaware Park in the city where the zoo is. That's a part of this too, because you want to keep those parks up, because as people come to the zoo, they enjoy the park as well. It's a part of the whole day.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole cultural heritage mystique, if you will, about Western New York. Olmsted designed Delaware Park and the zoo. Olmsted obviously designed MLK Park. It's all part of the Emerald Necklace, if I'm not mistaken. So these are all very precious jewels, if you will, and part of the heritage cultural tourism promotional campaign that was started when we were in county government.
And it's important that the public keep these parks up to speed. I mean, we can't always rely on, all the officials. I mean, people have to take that responsibility too to make it great and enjoy their time there and keep it safe. Let's talk about a friend of ours, Russell Salvatore, who we were at his 80th birthday party and wrote a book with a friend called Well Done. And this book is about his life. And you might be thinking we're taking a crazy turn with this here on the show, but we're not, because inside the book that I got from my friend Manny is a picture of Russell with, this is Luna,
yes.
Correct? So Donna, explain the connection between Russ Salvatore and Luna the polar bear and how this is all going to help the Buffalo Zoo.
Well, actually, Manny Lamanza, one of Russell's friends, is friends with our board chair, Dorothy Ferguson, and she said when he heard about our attempt to raise money for the campaign, he said, who would be probably very interested in getting involved is Russell Salvatore. And he was very interested. He made a very sizable gift to the campaign, which will be recognized at our new entrance. But also, all of the proceeds from the sale of that book is going to benefit the Buffalo Zoo's Bear campaign.
And the book is available at Russell's Steaks, Chops, and More, which is right up the street from us here at the Eastern Hills Mall. It's right on Transit Road. And so what was it like when you brought Russell to meet the bear?
He was really excited. I don't think he thought he would get as close to it as he did, and she was still sort of a handleable cub at about 3.5 months at that time. So our vet techs stationed next to him with the bear, and so he got a wonderful picture with her, actually a couple, and we also gave him a picture of her younger little paw print, and he just became completely in love, like anyone who meets Luna falls in love with her, and so he just made the commitment to try to help us raise money by his own personal gift, but also by generously donating all the proceeds from the sale of this book.
And the book is really about his sort of life and times. It's
very
just
interesting
celebrated
life.
his 80 years.
He's had to deal with a lot of challenges. It's amazing, his restaurant burnt down a couple times. It's a really good read, actually.
Yeah, one of the legacy icons of Western New York. And I guess when you talk about the meeting of the bear, now Russell had a chance to hold the bear, but the public cannot do that.
No, we haven't allowed anyone. I mean, even me, much as I loved it, after she turned about 3 months, her claws came in, her teeth came in. It would just be a risk. Even the woman who raised her, Alice Rohauer, couldn't go in with her when she's of a certain size. Not because she would have mean intentions, but the way they do rough and tumble play, if you watch them play, they look like they're biting each other and rolling and scratching each other, which if you've got a big, thick bear skin doesn't hurt you. But if you've got humans without that coat of fur, you can get injured. So we don't go in with them.
Joel, we know what that's like. In the world of politics, you can get injured pretty quick.
Absolutely. With 4 kids, too, they always bit each other, and but it probably didn't hurt as much as if you got bit by a bear. But
Now, Joel, in your private sector life now as a consultant for Park Strategies, you still remain very connected in the political world of Western New York, and you're still out there and supporting a lot of organizations. But what would you say to the person who's watching, maybe a politician or community leader, you know, who's maybe on the fence with this project, to really step up, who may know you from your professional world?
well, again, every time we were asked to make investments as county executive, we always tried to make sure there was a sufficient return on that investment. And I can tell you from the Buffalo Zoo standpoint, the return on investment is significant. The number of people that find their way into the city of Buffalo, new money, new tourist dollars, come to the Buffalo Zoo. So the return on investment is there. And, you know, I'm still involved in a whole lot of discussion with my former colleagues, new colleagues, and most of the politicians understand the zoo is a good investment. Right now, unfortunately, with the state budget problems, the county budget problems, the city, it makes it very difficult. So that's where the public has a chance now to step up and help, if you will, fill the void that, you know, the tax dollars cannot provide sometimes.
Absolutely. And the buffalozoo.org, Donna, is the website where people can
Yes.
go to. And the zoo is open all year round. I think you're only...
Yeah, we're only closed on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day.
There you go. So there's no excuse not to get to the Buffalo Zoo. And Donna, you have done a great job. Congratulations on the
Thank
time
you
did. It
very
seems like
much.
only yesterday when you arrived in Western New York.
Thank you for having me on your show today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This is the project, folks, the Arctic
Edge.
and all the other projects at the Buffalo Zoo that Donna's worked on have been so significant. This is going to be one of them. We ask you to go to the Buffalo Zoo and enjoy your summer in Western New York. And thanks for watching Political Buzz here on WBBZ TV, Friday at 7:30, Sunday at 10 on your hometown television station.